Welcome to Drill Down Earnings. We have quarterly results from Coherent. This is the business story behind one stock on the move. The stock's moving straight up. Why? I'll tell you why. I'm the Chief Market Strategist from Epistrophy Capital Research, Cory Johnson. Of course, we tell the stories of the 50 most important companies in technology, and I believe that Coherent is one of them. This is second quarter 2025 earnings for this company, and full disclosure, I own the stock. So, you can discount everything I say. Let me explain what's going on with this company. You can make your own investment decisions. God forbid, I'm not about to do that. But the company was supposed to do $1.37 billion in revenue. It did $1.43. That's more. Supposed to do 67 cents in earnings. It did $1.44. So slaughtering the estimates coming out of Wall Street, a lot better than my estimates as well. What's going on here? What does this company do? Why do we love this company? We love Coherent because they use Franklin Gothic condensed as a font in their press releases? No. Well, I do love that a lot. But no, this is an interesting company that does optical connections for networks, both in telecommunications and increasingly in the data center. Just like Fabrinet, a company we talked about a few days ago, this company makes those 400 gigahertz, 800 gigahertz, and maybe someday 1600 gigahertz connections in the data center. That's so exciting. They've been doing this for long distance telecommunications networks for a long time, and in other sectors as well. But what's so interesting here is that data centers want to move just massive amounts of information over very short distances at literally the speed of light, and Coherent helps them do this. So as a result, you saw this company see 27% revenue growth, gross margins getting better to 35.5%, just really strong, and of course earnings per share, charging a lot of money for this stuff. So 27% earnings growth, great. Margins, operating margins rebounding to 10% from this company amidst a turnaround and some acquisitions as well, and indeed a name change. Now, they've long been strong in the industrial business. They're out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. They're also in electronics and instrumentation, but communications, whether that's over telecommunications networks or, as I mentioned, in the data center, that is now 57% of the business, and it is driving growth. The other businesses have been basically flat over the last 4 years or so, but the growth in communications, whether again data center or telecom, and both are doing well right now for this company, really impressive. Now, 6% sequential growth alone is really impressive off the biggest numbers, and it gave them the biggest quarter ever. So when the numbers came out, the stock kind of went straight up. If I look at the last trading, it's up a 12% in after-hours trading after an 84% run in the last year. And what's really going on here is, if you think about all the excitement around NVIDIA, you think about all the excitement around the build-out of data centers, when we hear about companies like Oracle, Microsoft, Alphabet, Google, SAP, you name it. Everyone's Meta, Facebook, right? Talking about spending tens of billions to grow out data centers, talking about tens of billions, on semiconductors from the likes of NVIDIA and lesser so ARM. Well, they're also going to spend a fortune on these optical interconnects, and that's what's driving this story at Coherent, and that's what CEO Jim Anderson, who came recently from Lattice Semiconductor, here's what Jim Anderson had to say on the call about what's really driving that growth.
The raw bandwidth increase that's required to support the computing capacity expansion that the market is expecting. So if you look at the data center expansion plans, that drives tremendous growth in the number of computing nodes across the data center, and that drives a tremendous number of or amount of growth in the connections between those computing nodes and the bandwidth that's required between those computing nodes. And so that alone, we think, drives a really good, robust growth in data center over the long term. So
robust data center growth over the long term. We're seeing it in the short term from Coherent. Really powerful quarter, according to them. But what's your big drill down earnings takeaway? If you want to remember one thing about this quarter from Coherent, what is that thing? Well, Q2 2025 Coherent results, your essential summary is, yes, 27% growth on the top line on a year-over-year basis, and that's great. And again, I want to warn you, I own the stock, so I'm totally biased. Disregard what I say if you like. But really nice gross margins of 35.5%, 27% gross top line growth, as I mentioned. But the drill down earnings bite, the one number that tells you a whole lot about this business, is the growth in data centers and in telecom led to 58% growth in their communications sector on a year-over-year basis. That's just fantastic. Almost as good as last quarter. Accelerating growth now for 4 quarters. Really strong one from Coherent. All right, thanks for checking out Drill Down Earnings. We appreciate it.